Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Empathy Gaps, an online YouTube podcast focused on creating a safe space to discuss mental health and psychology. I'm Tiffany Zhang, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Adrienne Bender. Adrienne is a psychiatric nurse and author of her own memoir, The Almost Miracle Years, which is her story of overcoming her own challenges. Adrienne, thank you so much for being here today and taking the time to join me. Before we start, is there anything else that you wanted to add regarding to what you do or who you are?
Um, well, just that I am also like a grief recovery coach, and I do Reiki and a mother to angel babies.
Of course. Thank you so much for that information. And I guess to kind of start off our interview, I talked a little bit, I mentioned your book, The Almost Miracle Years. I guess, could you, for people that don't know, could you please give some, I guess, like a little bit of background on what your story is about?
Yeah, so basically uh, I had like a really difficult journey with both my children. They both suffered from very different but fatal afflictions. My son struggled with addiction from about age 12 until he passed away at age 25. My daughter, she had cancer. She got diagnosed when she was 8 years old. She was in remission for 5 years, and then she relapsed, and then she passed away at age 15. The book, the title of the book, The Almost Miracle Years, both my children almost survived by a miracle, and then they didn't. So it was like a lot of the book is about during those really hard times with both my kids that I still managed to find joy and enjoy the time that I had with them, even though we were really struggling. And then there's a lot of other things in the book. I did end up losing my father and my grandfather, and the pandemic was in there. So it was like a really trying time for many years for me. And after that, I decided to get certified as a grief recovery coach and help others deal with grief and loss. And I also really wanted to share my story with the world because, just to show people that even though things are really, really difficult, you can still find joy in life. You can still, find gifts in all the losses.
So I kind of wanted to ask like a clarification question. So I guess like for your two children and I guess your uncle and your grandfather, did that kind of all happen in the span of like a few years or like what was kind of the timeline for that?
So I lost my daughter in 2018, November 1st. My father got diagnosed with the same cancer she had um, in January of 2019, and my dad passed away within 6 weeks. So I lost my daughter and my father within a 4 month time period. And then my father was his caregiver. So I ended up having to take care of my grandfather. He had dementia. So then he passed away the following year. So that was 2020. And then my son, who struggled with addiction, he had come out of it. He was doing pretty well. He was going to college, and then something happened, and there was an incident, and I lost him in 2023. So 2018 to 2023.
Losing so many people must have been really hard. How was like I guess like how was the healing process different from them? Like how did you cope with several losses like at the same time?
So my daughter, I'm gonna say my daughter was the hardest um, because she had suffered for so long. Um, so I had some unhealthy coping. I drank a lot. I did some online dating with sketchy dudes. I just was looking for a distraction from what had happened. And then when my father passed away, then I was kind of forced. Like I didn't really have a chance to grieve my father because I had to take care of my grandfather. Um, so then when my grandfather passed away, and then it was actually so when my grandfather passed away, I ended up taking his little dog. I had to take care of his dog, right? Because he passed away. So, um, and then I had my son with me. Uh, and then when he passed away, um, I was like, okay, like the universe is telling me something, like I can crawl into a hole. I can, play the victim, or I can try and make something out of it. So that's when I decided to try it and promote some grief work, helping other people. And then actually, what inspired me to finish my book, I had started my book in when my daughter first passed away, and then all these things happened. So obviously, I wasn't writing books, but when my grandpa's little dog, when I finally had to put him down, kind of broke me. It was like the last member of my family that I live in Edmonton with. So then I was like, I'm gonna write this book. So then that really motivated me to write the book. So it was very different each time. So with Mackenzie, I was just like, unwavering, swallowing all consuming grief. With my dad, I was busy helping. My grandpa, was really sad because I was really close to him, but he was the one that you expected to go because he was old. And then with my son, I'm still shocked because I expected, an overdose from him like a few years ago, but not when it happened. So it was just really shocking. So my son's death was the one that really motivated me to share my story with everyone, because I thought all this loss, something good has to come out of it.
And so you said you first started the book when your daughter passed. How was how was writing, how did writing help with your grieving process? Did you find it hard to revisit the memories, or what was the process of writing the book like?
I found that it wasn't hard. I found that it actually really helped me to find more self-esteem and self-worth, because looking back on it was like, holy shit, I did that. I went through all that and I'm still standing. So it was very, it was sad, the epilogue, I cry every time I read it, but it was also very healing, and it also it helped me organize my thoughts and put things in perspective of whoa, you're a strong lady. This is a story that needs to be shared.
Yeah, of course. And also, what has the response of the readers been like? Like, I imagine they are probably grateful for you to sharing their story and stuff.
The response from the readers has been overall positive. They say that it gives you hope, provides inspiration and hope. Um, so that's kind of what I wanted. Some people are reluctant to read the book because they feel like it's just going to be a very sad story. And it is touching and it is a sad story, but that's not the overall energy of the book. It's more like it provides hope and um, encouragement to people who are struggling with grief.
Yeah, of course. I think that's really inspiring. I guess when your readers do read the book, what do you want? What would hope be your main message that you want your readers to take away? Even in dark times, you can still, I guess, smile and have hope for the future.
Yes, 100%. I want them to get, I want them, well, and I also have a pretty deep belief in the afterlife. So I want people to know that, you know, the physical death isn't really the end, and that there is hope, and you can still my kids are both gone and I'm 46. So I mean, I might live for 40 more years. So I can, enjoy those years or I can crawl into a hole and just, be a victim. So I just really want to inspire others, because it is hard when you're going through those kinds of losses to see the light. But I just really want to share with people that life can still be beautiful when you've lost everything.
Yeah, that's really inspirational. And I also wanted to ask you, you, you said that after you after all of those losses and stuff, you became a mental health a children's mental health therapist and also a grieving coach. How did your own experiences of grieving and stuff impact the work you did? Or how has it helped you help others through grieving and stuff?
Well, I was already working in children's mental health when they passed away, but the grief coaching thing. So I did a lot of therapy myself, and then that was one of the programs that I found the most helpful. So it's a very useful tool, and you can once you kind of walk through it once, it's something that you can do time and time again. You don't need to pay someone to do it. You know what I mean? So I felt like I wanted to share that useful tool with people, and it motivated me because it was helpful to organize my thoughts and feelings around these losses. And I wanted to share that with other people because you can't just, they just die and you're fine and you pretend, like you do have to do some work to process your feelings and emotions around losing people, or even if it's not even people, if it's occupations or marriages or whatever. Like grief and loss has a big umbrella, but I just really felt like I wanted to share with other people that you can work through it, and I found that modality particularly helpful.
Yeah, of course. And so what would you say is like your biggest piece of advice for people that like are grieving or like are going through like traumatic things in their life?
My biggest piece of advice, well, you have to feel it. So you have to feel the emotions. So you do have to go through it. You can't not feel it. But then also you have to find joy. Like, people that know me and knew what I was going through, like I could always crack a joke, like even it was like the most horrible situation you can possibly imagine. Like I could always crack a joke. I could always like enjoy a good meal. And it might just be for, an hour of the day, and the rest of the day it just sucks. So I just feel like uh and it was work. Like I had to make it a goal in my head, like, okay, I'm gonna go to this dinner and I'm gonna enjoy it, and then I can cry after it's over or whatever, or yoga class, or even if it's a song, like, oh, I'm just going to enjoy the song and then go back to my life. That is very hard. So I think that just reprioritizing things and just, I mean, it doesn't matter, if your house is messy or whatever, but if you can find like a little bit piece of joy in every day, even if it's small, then you should do that, because that's why we're here in this life, to learn and experience the beauty that it has to offer. And then, we pass on somewhere else where it's, probably better than here. But
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for sharing. And I kind of wanted to ask you, is that still kind of how you take care of yourself now, like finding the joy in the small things? Like, how is like the grieving process for you like different now than it was like right when those things happened?
well, it still happens. So grief is kind of like it will just hit you at the most random times. And you know what? When it hits me, I just honor it. Like if I wake up and I'm having a day and I'm missing my kids, like I'll take a sick day. Maybe I'll go for a walk where we used to go for a walk. Maybe I'll go to the favorite restaurant that they like to go to, and I'll just take that day and I honor it and I remember them and I listen to the music that they like to listen to, and I own it and I honor it, and then the next day is better. But I never try and brush it under the rug, or just get on with it. Like I have had to get on with it in various times, but if I can, I take all their birthdays off work and I take all their death anniversaries off work. And those are the days like I book a massage, I go for lunch, I remember them, I honor them, and I'm never gonna not do that. And I think that people expect that with time, oh, time, heals all wounds and it'll get better. I'm never gonna not do that. Like until I'm an old lady, I will always take that time to honor them. And I think that's important because I'm processing the emotions and I'm honoring my children. And I think that more people should do that with their loved ones that maybe they have lost.
Yeah, of course. I think just because someone is gone doesn't mean that you have to try and like forget them or like move on. And so I guess when someone's grieving, like, would you say that suppressing your emotions like makes it worse? Like, do you think it's like, is there like, do you have to keep a balance between like remembering someone but also not dwelling too much into the
Yeah,
grief where you get stuck? Like, how do you kind of like keep that balance?
yeah. Definitely you have to balance it. So like for me, when in the early days when I first lost my daughter, I made plans like all the time. And it would be like the smallest plan. It would be like on this Friday, I'm meeting my friend for coffee. On Wednesday morning, I'm gonna go to a yoga class. on Thursday, I'm going to do this. And then I even had a list written down, like, this is what I'm doing this week. And then I really tried hard to enjoy those things that I planned. And it really helped me to like take a break from my grief and live in the moment. And then when that moment is over, then I can go and cry and go back to it. But I really worked hard at prioritizing those, planning those events, and like having a grief break.
Yeah, of course. That sounds pretty healthy, I guess. Like striking a balance, like feeling your emotions, but also making plans and stuff. And I guess like, have you ever heard of the method where it's like you write a letter your to the person that you lost, and then you write a letter from their point of view back to you? Like, is that something that you've heard about before? Because remember when I was also doing one of these interviews, one of my guests said that it's like a good idea to write a letter to them and then pretend like they're writing a letter back to you. Like, is that something that you've heard of?
No, I haven't done that, but the grief recovery process does have a letter where you kind of go through your relationship with the person and you forgive them, or if there's things that you wish you would have said to them, and then you just say like, I'm not holding this grief anymore. I love you. Goodbye, kind of thing. And I found that was helpful.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
also feel like my kids like still come around. I feel like they're still around me, like telling me things.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel like when someone leaves, like they're never truly gone. And so I guess I kind of wanted to ask you for the next question, like, are you planning to write like a new book or something? Or like, I guess like what's in store next for you?
Well, I have done quite a few podcasts. And so the first book I wrote was a lot about my daughter's cancer journey. And then there was just so much content. I just wanted to get the whole story out. But then my second book, I want to write more from like my about my son's like addiction journey. And then, if that goes well, then I'll go into my childhood because that was a different journey as well.
Yeah. I guess one last question that I had to ask you was like, is it a like how was the process different between like supporting your daughter versus your son? Because obviously they had very different experiences. Like one was battling with addiction, another was battling like a physical illness. Like how was that process different between like supporting someone who had like a physical, I guess, challenge versus like a more like mental challenge?
It was very difficult. Um, so I mean, with my daughter, like I made a decision early on. So my son had struggled with addiction since he was 12, and then I like quit my job and I got him treatment, and he was doing really well. And then he was scheduled to go to a new school and everything. And then that same week, his sister got diagnosed with cancer. So at that point, I kind of made the decision like, I have to be here for her. Like she could die. Like at that time, Kyler was smoking pot and drinking. He wasn't doing like heavier drugs. So I kind of made the choice to be there for her. And I was like, I'll deal with your addiction later. And then I did that. So when she was in remission, then I really supported him, but it was very difficult. And then the second time she was really sick, um, he was in a really bad shape. It was really difficult. Like sometimes they'd both be in different emergency rooms at the same time, and I had to decide which kid to go to. So the good thing with Mackenzie is her dad was in Edmonton, so he could kind of help with that. But Kyler's dad wasn't here. So if he got hit by a car or overdosed or got really badly beat up, like I was the only person for him. So I kind of tag teamed them. It would be like, okay, who's okay, Kyler's sleeping. Mackenzie's like going for emergency surgery. I'll go there and be there for her, but then I'll go to Kyler after. So I really tried my best to be there for both of them as much as I could. And it was hard to kind of triage like which one's worse today, kind of thing. It was difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound really difficult, but I guess like if there's anything that you could tell yourself back then, like is there something that you would like any piece of advice that you would have told yourself back then or anything?
I think I maybe I would have asked for more help from friends. my family lives in BC, most of them, and then at the time, my dad wasn't what like my dad had mental illness, so it wasn't he wasn't an option really to get support from. But I think during that time, there was a lot of really good friends I had that offered to support to help, and I should have maybe taken them up on it, but at the time I was like, it's okay, it's my kids, it's my problem, like I'll sort it out. But I guess when people offer you help, it's okay to say yes, which has taken me some time to to grasp that concept. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. I always think it's better to like suffer with other people, I guess, than by yourself. Because I think by yourself, it's like not like it's harder to get the emotions out and stuff. And so I guess with that, like, is there anything else that you wanted to say, like about your new book or like where can people find you and stuff?
Yeah, so my book is The Almost Miracle Years. It is available on Amazon. I also have a website called adriennebender.com. So it's ADRIENNEBENDER.com. So you can, there's a trailer for my book on there. Um, Available on Amazon. I'm also open to doing speaking opportunities, any more podcasts. I'm open to clients who want to do some grief work. I do have a day job, but that's my children's mental health therapist job. I only work Tuesday through Friday. So I'm open to helping people or speaking or more podcasts or just anything to get my story out.
Yeah, of course. And that link will be in the description below. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Adrienne, for sharing your story. It was great talking to you and hearing like the resilience and just like grit that you showed throughout your entire process. I really admire you for that. And I'm sure a lot of your readers and people who are watching this podcast also admire you for that. And so, yeah, I guess with that, I will see everyone next time and have a great day.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.